Three, two, one. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. For anybody watching, thank you very much for watching. And we're back for day 2 of Stellar Blade. And I made a few modifications to my controls. Nothing too serious. I set up a dedicated map button because it appears we're going to be using a map more. Where in the earlier of the game, we didn't really have like a map to use. And it also set up a little bit of hopefully better controls for the range attacks. You know, I'm not really used to having to aim with a thumbstick. If I'm going to usually use some sort of range attack, I usually use a mouse. It's not really a preferred way to play, but it's not really an option. The other option would be using motion controls, but this particular controller doesn't support motion controls. I do have one that does, but that would require a lot more time to set up, and I'm not really interested in doing that, and I don't really have the time to right now. I may look into it because today will be probably the last day I'll get to stream for a few days, just because of work and everything. So I might not get to stream till late in the week, going into next week, like Thursday or Friday. But we'll definitely be picking it up probably like Thursday, Friday, and at the latest on Saturday. That's why I wanted to go ahead and do like a back-to-back stream. I don't think I'll stream again tomorrow. But anyways, let's see. We are back. I did make a few adjustments to the audio, because I felt the game was a little loud, and the music was too loud, so I went ahead and brought that down a bit. Give me 1 second here. Anyways, we'll go with this and see how it goes. I have to check the game audio here again. Balancing audio in a game, it can be very or like for streaming, when you're trying to, you know, set up mic, game audio, and then if you have music, getting all the levels to where it all balances out. And then even if you do get it balanced, you kind of have to listen to it on multiple devices, like, you know, like a mobile device with no headphones, and then IEMs, which are inner ear monitors, and then headphones, and then surround sound speakers. You want to kind of listen to, like, do a recording and test and listen to it on a variety of different audio setups to kind of see, you know, roughly how balanced or imbalanced things can be. And I've got a pretty good setup for that, but no matter how good it is, it's always still a challenge getting it set up. Anyways, so let's see. So got a dedicated map button. So I had a little hard time setting that up. It really wasn't hard, but it just because I forgot that this game does support what I would call hybrid controls, which appears that you can actually use both keyboard and mouse commands simultaneously with analog commands. Like from like a controller. At least it appears to allow you to do that. I'm not really doing that too much, but I was trying to set up a hotkey for the map, and the hotkey or the gamepad command is to swipe up, but the Steam controls don't work for swipe up, at least for this game. But then I went and bound it to the M button for map, and that works. So, because it looks like I'm going to have to be going into the map quite a bit and, you know, navigating or whatever. One other thing that while I remember. So generally after I start a game, I'll usually get 8, maybe 10 hours in, and I'll watch like a walkthrough of, you know, maybe another gamer or whatever that's done like 100% walkthrough. I won't watch the whole thing, but I'll watch like the segment of where I've already like gone through, just to kind of see like if I missed anything or whatever. And it turns out that the person that I was watching actually watched a YouTuber by the name of Just Human, Sometimes I'll watch Fighting Cowboy, but he doesn't always play the games I play, so he didn't have that. So I went with this YouTuber. He's really good. And the area that we were trying to jump in the beginning of the game, where I couldn't figure out how to get up to, and I couldn't jump. And if anybody remembers, at the end of the playthrough of first day, my main complaint of the game is just how jank the controls are. Not the combat controls, because those feel pretty good. They feel pretty good. I wouldn't say like on a 1 to 10 scale, I'd give it like an 8.5. You know, when I say 8.5, I mean 8.5, something like that, or an 8. I'd say an 8 at the lowest, 8.5 at the highest. They're pretty good. But the controls for navigating the world, jumping, platforming, grabbing onto things, swimming, those are really bad. And I said, it feels like they had two different developers that worked on the controls for the game, because they just feel different. And I've never played a game that had such a like juxtaposition between the controls of being able to navigate through the game and doing the fighting within the game. It's really weird. And I didn't hear anybody, I didn't watch a lot of reviews for this game. I just heard a lot of people raving about it and all that. And I think I know why people overhype this game, because it is a bit overhyped. I do think it's a game worth buying. It's a good game. I can clearly tell it is, and I am enjoying it, but I don't think that a lot of people, especially when it's an indie developer, which this kind of is out of Korea, a lot of like YouTubers and streamers or whatever will kind of overhype things a bit. And that can be kind of a negative, because they're not always being completely honest. And I understand why they're trying to help, because, you know, they want to help indie game developers. And I'm all for that. That's part of the reason why I bought the expanded edition of the game, because even though I've got some issues with the game, I mean, our indie developers are kind of our saving grace right now, especially with how corrupt the gaming industry has become, at least in the AAA development area. So when I, you know, even if I have an issue with the game or whatever, you know, something like this or whatever, I still want to try to help promote and support those developers in hopes they can, you know, make another game and make corrections and improvements or whatever. Except for like Team Cherry. Team Cherry is a bit of an exception, because not to pick on them, but their game development I don't want to support, because I don't like that type of design, and I don't want to support developers that create things that I don't like. There's a difference between a developer making something and making mistakes, and a developer that intentionally does things to their game to hinder the gameplay. So at least that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people get pissed off about that, especially the fanboys of Hollow Knight. But for something like this, I don't really mind. But I personally would prefer that, you know, when YouTubers or streamers or whatever, I wish they'd be a little more honest and transparent. Like, if I'd have known, I would have still bought the game. If they would have said, yeah, the controls feel a little bit jank when you're, you know, navigating the world or whatever, swimming, jumping, platform, whatever, but the combat feels really good. You know, I prefer, you know, a level of transparency and honesty that way, at least kind of knowing about it. Jake Baldino did a review of the remake of Dead Space, and he kind of said the same thing about Dead Space, that the game has a bit of jank to it, to the controls, but it's still fun and enjoyable to play. And I don't generally like Jake's takes, because he's always way too positive about game design and never really criticizes things. He's doing it more now. The last few years I've noticed he's been a little bit more honest than he used to. Before, he was just always he would never say anything critical or negative. And now he's starting to, you don't have to like trash the game or trash the developers, but if there's a problem and it's something that you feel affects you or could affect other gamers, voice it, let people know, you know, that way. I mean, if there's enough deal breakers there, then yeah, they may not buy the game, but if it's only like like this, so far, I would say that's the main issue with the game. I still think it's worth buying and playing. But if there was like a bunch of things stacked up, then yeah, I wouldn't. But I still, like I said, I still think it's worth playing. But it would have been nice if reviewers, people that bought and played the game, had said so. So anyways, this guy, Just Human, was, you know, doing the playthrough, and I watched a bit of it. I didn't have time to watch, you know, the whole segment, but it took him about 4 or 5 hours to get roughly where we're at now. And he was having the same problems I was having with the platforming. And it made me feel a lot better. I'm like, okay, so I'm not crazy, you know. And he played it much earlier than I did, maybe a year ago. So they didn't fix anything or anything like that. But apparently the roof that we were trying to get to in the earlier part of the game, you can actually jump to it. It's just jank. You have to kind of like sit there. He spent like several minutes just trying to jump up there, and it's not a skill issue. It's just, the game is just jank. It's like when we were over here trying to jump to that ladder, same fucking thing. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I really believe they had 2 different teams working on the controls of this game. One team did the combat, and I think one team did, you know, the actual transversal movement throughout the game. I don't believe they're the same people. There might be a couple people that, you know, that maybe worked on both, but I think the core is different because it just doesn't feel the same. It's really weird, and I've never quite played a game like that where the movement in the gameplay versus the combat in the gameplay feels so different. Like it was like you had 2 cooks, you know. It's kind of like getting somebody who works at Pizza Hut and then somebody who works at Papa John's. They both make pizza, but they do it differently, and then you try to get them to come together. It's kind of weird. Maybe not the best analogy. I don't even really eat pizza anymore, but anyways, so we got the map set up. I did also notice a couple of things I did miss. Those were on me, nothing with the developers or anything like that. So when we were doing those beams and we had to move them around, there were 2 rooms. We needed to make a bridge to get across from the construction site to that cave area. And on the side of that entrance where we needed to move the beams, and we only really needed one, there are 2 relief sculptures on both sides, and you can use the beams to break those, and there is stuff inside. I didn't see what was on the left side, but I did see what was on the right, and it was just like another suit. For me, I would say the main concern and why I'm like looking around a lot, just I do enjoy Easter egg hunting in video games, especially like this. And I would say that's kind of one of the strong points of this game. The world design, at least so far, is pretty cool in regards to them creating little crevices and places to look for, to find things. So I think that's one of the strengths of the game that I do enjoy. But the concern is, because I can't go back to that area, at least not now. Maybe later I'll be able to. But because we're here and we don't have a way back, I don't have a way of collecting those items. But I suspect there is a way to go back at some point. I don't know. If not, no big deal. Well, sort of. Because if you are looking around for items and maybe you miss something, like a core, for example, because the cores are vital to your upgrades or whatever, especially like on a first playthrough, you don't have a way of going back. So now your character is hindered by not being able to upgrade. So it does seem like most of the cores, though, I wouldn't say they're like super obvious to find, but you've got stuff that's like super obvious, then stuff that's kind of in the middle, and then stuff that's completely hidden. It seems like most of the cores are kind of in the middle. They're not like super obvious, but they're not like completely hidden. So if you're just looking around good enough, you should be able to find them. But if a core would have been behind one of those relief sculptures that you need to break with like a beam like that and you don't know it, and I was trying to think, did I miss, like, because I was scanning a lot and the scans will go through the environment. Did that show up? I didn't have time to go look at that section of the playthrough, so I'm going to do that later. But if I would have scanned, I probably would have saw it. And then maybe I would have thought to use the beams. I don't know. But that's more on me. That's not the developer's issue. But it is a little bit of a concern because, what if there are areas of the game where you're supposed to use something like that to maybe break through, and behind it is something significant like a core or an upgrade like that. The outfits are not, those are more cosmetic. They're not really anything that, like to be, too concerned about. They don't give you anything. It's just, like I said, just cosmetic. Anyways, we can go ahead and get started here. Okay, so we needed to, I think we started on this quest. And they're back at the town hub or whatever, Zion. We'll have to go back there. There's more to uncover over there. So I've got this set up. I do need to, let me see. I need to adjust the aiming a little bit. It's still a little bit on the sensitive side. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that feels much better. So I was hoping that when I was setting up the controls, I was hoping that the range combat that they were going to do with this game was going to be like Nier Automata, because in Nier Automata, you use the drone for your range attacks, but you can lock on. Unless you play on hard mode, then you can't. But if you're going to play on hard mode, because of the way, and that would be a completely different build. I've never tried that build, but you're mostly using range attacks rather than your sword play. And it kind of turns into a third-person shooter at that point. It seems like it'd be a cool way to play. Like I said, I've never done it, but you don't get a lock-on. But if you were going to play that way, you would definitely want to play with a keyboard and mouse. Trying to play with controller with that, even with like aim assist and all that, with the way those enemies move, like, I don't know how people play with an analog stick. I know people do it. I don't know how they do it, but it doesn't make sense to me. I probably need to read this quest, so let me pull that up. Reset the claw crane's control system. Okay, so this, okay. Okay. These move, so we may need to move that in order to climb up or something. We need to get to whatever that is up there. Okay, may need to move this. Oh, okay. So you grab and then let go of the grab. Oh, can I not move it in there? Oh, I can't. Okay, so it won't let me move it in there. Can we use this? It doesn't seem high enough. Oh, we need, oh, okay, I see what we need to do. We need to put them on these platforms. Okay. Oh, and one other thing, I would like to see more developers give us the option to toggle the yellow paint on and off. I think the reason they're not doing that, something is jank here. Okay, there we go. So I think the reason they're not doing that in more games to toggle it on and off isn't because, you know, of necessarily difficulty, but they would have to create 2 texture maps for the game. They'd have to have one with all the textures without the yellow paint, and then a whole nother set of textures with the yellow paint, and then have an option within the menu to toggle it on and off. But having 2 full sets of textures, you wouldn't have to do the whole game, only the parts of the game that that require or that would have yellow paint that you'd need to do that with. But considering we can't even get developers to optimize their games, they're certainly not going to create a separate texture map just for you know, things like this. Although indie developers might be open to it. Okay, that's one. This one's stuck. Maybe we can pull it. Yeah, there we go. Oh, okay. We need to go over there. I do kind of wish they would have given us a, like almost like a monocular or something that we could like zoom and look at things from far away. Okay, there's some yellow paint over there. It feels like they tried to mimic Tomb Raider. I say try. I'm trying to shimmy to the right, and it's not letting me. This is what I mean by the jank. Okay. This is beautiful. If we don't make the jump, we die. Awesome. I love that. And the swinging is jank because if you remember, I mentioned that in order to move to the left or right, you have to hold the analog stick down. But you also need to hold it down in order to swing. Fuck. Okay, we didn't die. Like, I don't know why they didn't make the controls when you're on the pipe to go left or right. Move the analog stick left, move the analog stick right. That's my fault. That's not the game. That part where I'm trying to, because I'm trying to do the jump dash. It's kind of jank. Like, I'm fighting the controls here. That's the problem. It never feels good to have to fight controls in a game. What is this? Hidden reward, okay. But when you're doing the combat...
You must have gotten the order wrong. What was it again? Ticker, buzzer, and... clunker?
Confirmed.
Oh. Okay. So it's working now? Yeah, like when you're doing the combat, it feels pretty good. Okay, I was wondering, are we supposed to drop over here? But I don't think so. To like get over there, but when I scan, there's nothing there. So... let's pull out the map. And every time you jump to one of these things, you're just hoping that you actually grab, because if you don't, you're fucked.
You must operate the ticker
Buzzer, and Clunker, in that order. This will reset the claw crane. Error. Energy low. Energy levels dangerously low.
So one of the things I noticed, I'll let this play out.
I can't believe this flimsy thing is still working. What a relief.
Looks like you're right. Well then, how about we go check on that drone?
So sometimes you'll come up on something you need to interact with, and my interact is set to R2. It doesn't matter whatever button it is. If you press the button, it just won't interact. So what I've learned in order to fix that, I don't know if it's a bug or what, if you jump and then press the interact, it will generally fix it. I had that happen with the car when I was trying to get the fusion cell out of it, and ever since I did that, I've had it repeat, and I just jump and it seems to fix it.
Thank you so much for your help. Hello, Adam. It has been some time. Would you kindly introduce me to this lady?
Of course, what's the word? Oh yeah, Angel.
Angel. That's the unofficial name for members of the Eve Airborne Squad.
I'm Eve. What happened to you? Drones like you aren't supposed to work this way.
Hello, Eve. I am Digger. I have innumerable thoughts concerning my existence, and I am capable of making fantastic plans.
I told you this would be fun. You see what I mean?
Adam, please don't interrupt. Eve, someday I would appreciate the opportunity to sit, at length, and share with you my fantabulous hypothesis. I thank you again for your assistance. May our relationship continue to prove constructive. I am willing to provide useful resources.
Okay.
All right. Wow, he gave us quite a bit. Okay, so you do kind of have like an XP bar, because as you gain XP, it unlocks SP points. So experience. Okay. Because I was kind of noticing that when we were in town, there was a bar that came up like that, and it was going up, and then it would show like numbers being added for skill points. So fair enough. Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Wait. Data bank. Yeah, I don't really want to read all these. I'll do that off stream. I probably won't. when Hideo Kojima did Death Stranding, he had a bunch of these, but I actually did collect them. I needed one more, but I collected almost all of them. I needed one more. But the thing that I did like that he did differently than a lot of games is every one of them actually kind of meant something within the game. And it was related to like certain music albums that he liked, books that he liked, movies, certain quotes, things like that. And if you go through it and you read them all, you feel like you really get a sense to knowing Kojima on a more personal level without actually ever meeting him, which is really cool. I hadn't seen a developer ever do something like that. So I thought that, I really enjoyed that. Okay. I needed one more, but I had gotten so burned out on the game because I did like pretty much every mission. I only needed to do like, I think there was one more mission I needed to do and like one more data USB stick to collect or whatever. But I had kind of overstayed my time in that game. But it was fun. It's kind of weird. A lot of the games that I would put in my favorites, like top 10 favorite games, it's one that is in my top 10. But the exception to it is usually when I put a game in my top 10 list, it's like a game that I will return to and I want to replay. And I gotta be honest, I have no desire to ever play Death Stranding again. It's a great game. I recommend it somewhat. It's kind of hard to recommend because it's not really going to be for everybody. But it's kind of it's for me, I can't speak for other people, it's kind of like a one and done. I think if you just do the bare minimum in the game, then yeah, it's probably worth maybe going back and revisiting. But if you pretty much do like 95% of the game or 90%, there's really not a whole lot of reason to like return to it. And not because it's not, enjoyable, because the story, the characters and everything is really friggin' cool. Oh, this is that flower we collected. Okay, so there's more of them. All right, so there's a total of 8. Okay. Didn't we try to do that? Huh, okay. I am looking forward to playing Death Stranding 2 once it gets ported to PC, but I refuse to buy any more games on console. I'm just not going to do it. I don't care how good the game rates or the ratings or whatever. I just won't do it. It's got to come over to PC or I'm not going to play it. I am so sick of supporting console companies. More so with Sony because they're just... Let's move on. Let's talk about positive things. Okay. So we have 3 skill points. Well, we've got all of our attack. I'd like to start working on getting more beta. Let's see. Yeah, whoa, hold up. Wait, come back. Oh, okay, we've got to be at the camp, or we're close by anyways. Okay, so let's get out of that. Trying to see if there's any loot that we're missing. Of course, we can always come back if we need to. Well, I was all, this game doesn't paint you into a corner. And we can't actually get back to the area in the earlier part of the game. I mean, maybe later we'll be able to, but... Oh, wait a minute. We didn't go up there. There we go. Maybe that's enough to jump over to it. Grab the fucking ladder, woman. What is it you with ladders? Why can't you ever grab a fucking ladder? Yeah, she just doesn't like grabbing ladders. Yeah, there's something up there. And this is not a skill issue. This is just bad design. Like, grab the fucking ladder. She just doesn't ever fucking grab. This is why we spent forever at that fucking quest trying to get on that goddamn ladder. And you can't turn her like in place because whenever you turn her, she fucking takes steps forward instead of just standing stationary and turning. Let me check something else. I don't know if there's another button you're supposed to fucking press or what. I don't even have to type it. Eve won't grab ladder. So I'm not the only person to fucking have this problem. Double jump. Is there a double jump? Okay, so you get a double jump at some point. So apparently you're going to get a double jump, but we're just not like, I guess, high enough with this to be able to do it. So she can't grab onto that either. So I guess we have to come back to this when we get double jump. It's really fucking annoying. I'm not opposed to the double jump, but if you're going to have something like this, don't make it to where you're sitting there like it's a carrot on a stick. Make it obvious that there's no way to get to it unless you have another ability or another way to get around or something. This makes it like people are going to sit here. That's why there's all these forums here, people complaining about this. Why didn't they fix this shit? All right, I'm going to try not to rage. I'm a jaded gamer. Let's just fucking move on. I don't think we have anything. Nope. Hold on. Somebody's at my door. Okay, I'm back. Apologies. My neighbor texted me and I didn't get around to replying because I was kind of busy getting things set up with the stream. And she likes cooking, so she will bring things over sometimes. And she cooked up something. So she was bringing it over. I barely could hear her knocking at the door because I have my music going. Anyways, I'm going to hold off on upgrading that. We do have 1 point, but I think I'm going to wait. So I want to save for this. So I think we need 3 for that. Yeah, so I want to get 2 more points and get that. Let's see what's at the shop. So we've got a lot more. Oh, so I'm a little bit of a retard here. I was complaining on day 1 about not knowing how much things cost. I wouldn't say full retard. I wouldn't say full retard, but a little bit retarded. So where it says, let me see if I can do this, if it'll work. So right there, it's got gold and it has 2 numbers, kind of a division. I've got 20k gold right now, and the number that's to the right is the cost of the item. I've never seen currency done that way. Maybe it's a Korean thing, who knows? But I figured it out after looking at my video. I was like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing. I wouldn't say it's all like on them completely, but you know, like I said, I'm partially retarded. I should have put it together, but not a big deal. So anyways, I mean, more simply put, instead of putting that, because you already know how much gold you have up at the top right, just put the base amount. So it was kind of confusing me. Anyways, I haven't really felt the need to buy any of this stuff just yet. I kind of want to just wait. I did spend some money. I'll buy these. Okay, I'll buy those. Those seem like something to hold on to. And I'm wondering if these are limited. Meaning, like, if you buy them. Okay, so they're not. Okay, I was kind of worried about that because we didn't buy any of the ones in the earlier part of the game. And if they're limited, then I should have bought them, but it doesn't look like they're limited. Only this was limited. So, okay, cool. All right, let's look at the map. Where do we want to go next? So here. Okay. All right, we're going to go find a hat. I think we need to go this way. Are you going to be able to get through? Oh, shit. They surprised me with this one. That was good, though. I kind of like that. Okay, we'll retry it. Okay. Hey, at least they mixed it up a bit. Threw me for a loop. I bet that if they change it up again, they'll probably have somewhere they rotate or something. Cool. All right. Look at the map. So there's probably like some loot up here before going over there. Yeah, we'll go check it out. See if we can get an ambush on this fool. General Gravis. Whoa! All right, we're fucking around and we're finding out. Okay, there's a waypoint or a warp. Oh no, it is a waypoint. Oh no, it's just a warp. Okay. I thought we had unlocked one. It just... Didn't we unlock one over here? Oh, so any camp... Oh, right. Okay. Oh, no, not any camp. Only certain camps. Okay, so we can fast travel there. Okay, that's dope. I like fast travel. I would have liked Hollow Knight a lot more if it had real fast travel.